What's wrong with Kansas basketball dropping back-to-back games on the road in ugly, ugly fashion? We got all that to get into, plus a little bit of KU football offseason talk.
It was good, John. It's your boy JD6 here. I'm with my man. Shout out to KC Sports Authority. Make sure y'all go check that podcast out, man.
You heard the man. What's wrong with Kansas basketball? That is the topic of tonight. Welcome into the KC Sports Authority podcast. If you're checking us out over here on our YouTube channel where we are live right now, feel free to drop any thoughts, comments, questions you have in the live comment section there on the side. We'd love to throw them up on screen. I'm hoping to get a lot of Jayhawk fans in here tonight to just kind of talk about the frustrations of this KU basketball team over the last two games. But we've also got some KU football to talk because it's not all just doom and gloom with basketball. We actually have some positive things to talk with KU football. So I thought we'd start there, fellas. Keegan Russell, JB Merker, and Austin Eckert with you guys here tonight. Again, if you are watching us live on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button right now so some other Jayhawk fans can find the podcast. Also, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. You can also hit us up on any of our social medias at KCSA Pod. Well, let's get into some football talk. I guess the first piece of news there, like our intro, was Jalen Daniels. JD6 is coming back for a sixth season of college football. It's crazy to think that we have all these guys across the league that are getting 6-7 years. But JD6 is coming back, has renegotiated a deal with Kansas to come back. Not sure what the details of that yet. But we got JD6 back. We got Jeff Grimes off to Wisconsin. I don't know who made the phone call to Wisconsin to talk him into it, but as soon as I saw that in my mind, I'm thinking of the guys from Impractical Jokers now doing, all right, now tell them you're hiring Jeff Grimes from Kansas. And then they go out and hire Jeff Grimes from Kansas. Got some thoughts on that. A lot of things. I mean, Deshaun Warner entered the transfer portal. Savion Morrison, transfer portal. We get a transfer portal pickup in LaShawn Williams, who as of right now is the number one ranked running back in the transfer portal at this time from Iowa. We got a couple guys declaring for the draft. They brought back Matt Lubick today, the former offensive analyst that went to Nevada this last year. So he's back on staff. Zabrowski's promoted to offensive coordinator. And, of course, Brian Borland retires and DK McDonald takes over as the defensive coordinator. So there's a lot to get into. Where do you guys want to start on the football side? So let's start with JD. Are we scale of 1 to 10? How excited are you that JD is back for a sixth season at Kansas?
Look, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Okay, I'm not like, look, all right. I feel like I'm already making enemies because a couple of years ago, I think we all would have been like, 10 out of 10. Like, I'm so excited that JD is back. I am just a little scared. I guess this year we made it through without any injuries. Did anyone stop at any point in the last so many days and think, wait a minute, he didn't miss a game? Like, what? So I am, unless I'm forgetting something, I didn't watch every game, but I'm pretty sure he didn't miss one. And his health was a big concern, and rightfully so, going into the season. So for him to get a full season of health under his belt, I kind of thought, man, maybe that's a good opportunity for him if the league is his ultimate goal. I'm no expert on where he would potentially be drafted, what team would potentially want him, or what draft position he could get. But I kind of thought this was his time to go to the league. I could be wrong. I didn't really buy into the people that said that he would transfer. I
wasn't buying the transfer talk either. It was either he played good enough in the season to go into the draft, which he definitely did not, or he was coming back.
Right.
Like I didn't see that many scenarios where it was he's going to play somewhere else.
I'm just terrified that he could get an injury and then it just kills all of his draft stock. Even if he had a little bit, I think it'd be all gone if he gotten in any predicament with his back again, or If it was something else, I don't know. But that stuff kind of scares me. However, on the reason it's still an 8 out of 10 is because ultimately I think myself and every Kansas fan should be thrilled for the most part that we are getting someone who clearly is the leader of this team, who knows our offense, who has been the guy. He brought back Kansas to prominence in football, and it's on his shoulders. So I can't think of a better name that we could pursue that I would feel more confident in, and I think that's the ultimate reason why I'm thrilled that he's back. I know I'm not giving it a 10 out of 10, but I'm still thrilled.
Yeah, Austin, are we feeling good about his return despite his up and down season?
No, I feel great. Personally, I would give this a 10 out of 10 just because we know what we're getting in this guy. And, with Z now being promoted as the offensive coordinator, Jason Bean played in that bowl game whenever Z led the offense. So I guess we haven't seen Jaylen Daniels in a Jim Zabrowski-led offense yet, but I do feel good about it because, the schemes are going to be a lot like what they did with Cole Nicky whenever he was here, I believe. I mean, because we saw a lot of the similar things that Cole Nicky did whenever they played against UNLV in the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. I going to the injury part. I did think about that throughout the season, and yeah, he played in every single game this season. And, there was a lot of talk before the season began, like, oh, no, he's going to get injured week 1. He's going to get injured week 4. Yeah. He's not going to play any Big 12 games, all this crap. And, to see him play a full season, I think makes me excited. I mean, because, he can play through an entire season. And, there's always going to be a risk for, injury and the possibility of, getting a season-ending injury, which we've seen him have already. But I think just the fact that he was able to play a full season gives me confidence that he can remain durable and he can play throughout another season long, another long season. So, I mean, because if you think about JD's career with KU, I don't think he had ever played a full season as the starting quarterback until this year, because 2020 he was the starter, and then it was like Miles Kendrick and whatever other quarterback, Thomas McVitie, and then 2021 was Jason Bean, and then Miles Kendrick came in, and then 2 plays later after that injury he had against K-State, that's when JD came in and played. And then 2022 suffers an injury, and then Jason Bean takes over, and then he comes back, and then 2023 didn't start the season opener, and then he came back against Illinois, and then got knocked out before the game against Texas, and then Jason Bean takes control.
Isn't it crazy how our worry this year wasn't that Jalen's season would be bad because he was bad for part of the year? It was, is he going to get hurt again and miss time?
Yeah.
He didn't. I don't think he missed a single play this year, other than when he got sat, if, in crunch time, if it was a blowout.
There were a couple of times when Cole Ballard came in and did some quarterback draws.
Yeah, I guess he didn't sit because he was nursing an injury. Right. So I don't think many of us had JD would be worse this year, which of course probably is honestly what leads to him coming back. But I look forward to it. Those of you watching live, throw us a thumbs up, thumbs down. You feel good about it. I think the only thing I'll say about Jalen coming back is, if the plan is to still be competitive and win next year, who gives you a better chance at winning next year than Jalen?
No one.
Like Isaiah Marshall, we don't really know what he's going to be yet. I don't know if him as a sophomore or a redshirt freshman is going to be better than what a six-year senior Jalen is. Don't know if David McComb's going to come in to be that. And I don't know if Jalen did transfer out or was to go pro, who you'd pick up in the transfer portal that would know Zabrowski's system. Those two have a really tight-knit relationship. They've been together now for 6 years, coming on 6 years. So I think I feel really good with it. I think it also really helps us out in the transfer portal. Do you, as a we need wide receivers. We basically lost everybody. We're replacing, I think, 6 wide receivers in total, something like that, plus a couple tight ends. So if you're a pass catching option out there in college football, would you rather go play for an unknown, or come here for 1 year for a 6-year senior quarterback that knows the offense, that is proven to be a big time playmaker, and now gets to run a little bit more free because Grimes is gone. The dreaded decision there. It was not what I think any of us also anticipated, being of Grimes being forced out or KU trying to fire him or whatnot. It was another team calling saying, hey, we'll take you. Come out here. We want you to come bring that physicality in the run game to Wisconsin. Would love to see the final details. If Wisconsin's paying his buyout, by the way, if that's part of this too, I think you got to feel really good that Wisconsin did this. I do think we got to give Grimes a little bit of credit. The second half of the season went way better, and actually in Big 12 play, they were one of the best offenses in Big 12 play, averaging over 30 points a game, averaging the most yards per play. It did look a lot better, but there were still so many aspects of his play calling that just it was situational. I said it on the Ain't No Seats podcast last night in their comment section. It's just the situational play calling and the adjustments to the defense. Like he just couldn't do that. You have Devin Neal in the backfield and you don't utilize him when you should be. So I, for one, am glad that he's gone. I am glad that Coach Z is taking over play calling duties and taking over the offense. Should have done this last offseason, in my opinion. I think you could also argue, had they done that, we probably would have had at least 2 more wins, if not 3, because he knows the team better than Grimes. But that's the only take I have on the departure of Jeff Grimes.
Yeah, we're still the best 5-7 team. Can we talk about this? How did we fall apart against Baylor, dude? How did we just crap the bed against Baylor? We poured everything we had into the 3 games leading up to Baylor, and you would think if we can win those 3 games, I don't care what Baylor's record is, we should have won that game. I mean, that just kind of really, really cut deep for me. I don't know, maybe some KU fans were a little bit checked out anyway. I don't know how you could be after 3 straight ranked, or not ranked, but 3 straight wins.
3 straight wins over ranked opponent, yeah.
That's right. Okay, so I didn't misspeak. So yeah, 3 straight ranked wins. It's like, we should have had that Baylor game. It just makes me wonder, what was our bowl game going to be? I mean, who would they match us? I guess
technically speaking, I have not seen this announced yet. There is a small, very slim chance KU could get invited to a bowl game if enough 6-win teams didn't show up or didn't want to go, or they don't get all the bowl games filled for some reason. There's an outside chance that they do go to a 5-7 team, and you'd have to think with KU's 3 wins over ranked opponents that they'd be one they would ask. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I would anticipate happening, but there is a tiny chance that could be the case. But yeah, disappointing season. Go 5-7.
They're going to go to Wisconsin first if that's the case, right? Because they were just talking about it. They were talking about it in when Wisconsin was playing Minnesota. I was watching that game with my father-in-law. They were talking about it. Man, they need this win, but there is a chance. I'm like, yeah. I
didn't do the research on this. I don't know how many 5-win teams have made a bowl game in years past and what those 5-win teams have looked like. But yeah, there's a small chance. Again, other bit of news we mentioned other than Grimes being out, is Brian Borland officially retiring after his long tenure with Lance Leipold and his coaching staff. Honestly, he was, from what I understand, was potentially going to retire at the end of last season and was asked to come back. I, for one, personally believe DK McDonald was brought in the offseason with the anticipation of making him the defensive coordinator. I think the second you knew Jordan Peterson was leaving, I think that's why DK McDonald was here, is to have that next guy up. I don't believe a lot of the hype that Jordan Peterson would have been interested in the defensive coordinator job here. I think he's at a great spot at his alma mater with the opportunity to take over that defense at some point. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to have him back. Plenty of guys have said that Jordan Peterson's one of the best recruiters in the country. He's taken quite a few guys in the transfer portal that he recruited in their high school days. We saw DJ Warner was one of those guys he got to come to Kansas. Warner, of course, is in the transfer portal. And Warner, here's what I thought was exciting or cool, is the fact that KU had a outgoing transfer in the top 50. DJ Warner was listed at 43 as of right now. But yeah, Jordan Peterson gone, not coming back. They moved DK McDonald up into this role. Brian Borland retires. Borland, very loyal guy to Lance Leipold. Leipold very loyal back to him, but just never really got it done at the level we needed it to here. They were always, 70 or worse on Pro Football Focus for defensive, basically all defensive statistics. Not a very good defense. Had great players. We had great players at different positions.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, two of the best guys in the secondary the last 2-3 years with Mello and Kobe. Had a few good linebackers here and there, but just never really could get it done. They did improve each year on defense as far as scoring wise, but just not ever to the point that we needed to be. And we saw how many times, first half of the year, you could argue it was the offense, you could argue it was the defense, but how many games were lost because the defense couldn't stop anybody late. And just I think how I played with Grimes not making adjustments, it just didn't seem like Borland's defense. It felt a lot like, oh my gosh, the guy the Chiefs hated, Bob Sutton. It felt like a Bob Sutton defense at times where, hey, we're just going to line up the way we play, and we're not going to change. We're just not going to change. If no matter beat over the top, we're going to beat up the middle. We're just going to play the same defense and hope that we get a few stops here and there. And they did. But Borland out, DK McDonald in. Any thoughts you guys have on any of those coaching changes?
I love how you mentioned that it really could. I mean, there could have been so many games, I think, from this season. We just kept it the entire time, and we would have survived. We would have ended up with, I don't even know how many more, 2, 3, 4, 5 more wins. Feels like it because this team, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's conditioning, I don't know if it was the defense, I don't know if it was the play calls, but what happened was it felt like every fourth quarter we just gave up. Every fourth quarter we were done. We were good for 3 quarters. Fourth quarter, it was it. That was a wrap. And they could, walk all over us every fourth quarter, and that's tough for me. As a fan, you just it's bad when you're watching the season and halfway through you're looking at these guys just giving up on plays and just effectively running out of gas so many times game after game to where it's like you can only watch the first 3 quarters and you hope that you're up by like 3 scores because that's at times it felt like that's a minimum of how many scores you need to be up to ensure that despite a fourth quarter drag, you're just going to actually come out with a win. But I don't think that ever really happened. Just a shame. But I don't know. What do you think, Austin?
I mean, yeah, I agree with you. And that's about what I was going to say about the defense in Borland. Great players. There were guys that could create turnovers, but just didn't do enough to come up with, stops when they really needed to make them. I mean, the Arizona State game may be the worst one out of all the losses that we've had, because of the defense. I mean, because KU goes up in like the final 2 minutes with a go-ahead touchdown over the eventual Big 12 champs.
Isn't that crazy? Pick to finish last and they finish first.
Yeah, and we should have beaten Arizona State, and luckily we were able to beat Iowa State when we finally started to come together offensively. And I mean, the defense, they had that pick 6 from Mello Dotson, but they still gave up 35 plus points, 36 points, I believe. So, it's like the defense just didn't, step up really in the fourth quarter. And that's what made this season pretty frustrating. And, I was curious if we were going to make a change at defensive coordinator at the end of the season. And I know that Coach Leipold is very loyal to his guys and doesn't want to give up on them because I think we've talked about this before, but there was a clip of one of Leipold's press conferences. And this was when he was at Buffalo, I think. And he was talking about how one season they went 2-10 and somebody in the athletics department was like, hey, are you going to make, changes offensively? And he was like, no, I'm going to stick with Cole Nicky. I'm not going to give up on him. And he was talking about how like things take time and loyalty and those things. So I was curious if that was going to happen, but
true.
expecting.
one change he did do, though, that offseason after Kotelnicki struggled, he brought Jim Zebrowski back onto his staff as the co-offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach.
Yeah.
And I think basically the two of them were together since, well, I think that was 2017 maybe. So even though Kotelnicki is fantastic now, he struggled early, but bringing Zebrowski back seemed to definitely make a huge impact, which I'm hoping makes a big impact this next year. I think we're going to see them air it out a little bit more now that Devin Neal's not here. We don't have the same running back room that we've had in the past. No Savion Morrison, potentially no Daniel Highshaw. At least that's what it looks like. LaShawn Williams coming off of a big injury. So I think they are going to air it out more, and I think that's what Jalen wants to do too. And so I think Zebrowski's a good answer for that. But enough football. There's plenty more to get into in the offseason. We'll talk about positions of need, transfer portal, that kind of stuff. Let's get into the heart of it, the reason we are here, and that is the Kansas basketball woes. The last week has been nothing but abysmal on all fronts, from blowout loss to Creighton, where we really didn't look good at all, to pretty much a blowout against Missouri.
The same thing.
The 15-point comeback was impressive, but for the most part, a blowout. Didn't look good. You've got Rylan Griffin missing a game because of the flu, and supposedly flu's been going around the team. You got Bill Self calling players out in press conferences for their effort. He even on Hawk Talk earlier tonight had made a comment about, Hunter, why did you look so good against Michigan State? And how come that hasn't happened in every other game? He's like, well, I hate Michigan State. I was at Michigan for 4 years or 3 years. I hate Michigan State. Well, okay, cool. So you balled out for that game and haven't, not that he's not putting up statistics, but he's not playing inspiring basketball. The team looks terrible. On top of that, they don't land AJ Dybinesta, who somehow decides to go do BYU over Kansas, UNC, and Alabama. I know he's getting a fat NIL check. But still, you're talking about two of the greatest programs in college basketball history who probably would pay you very close to the same, and you don't go there. So it's been a very rough week. I don't even know where to begin. There's so much that looks wrong with this team. The rotations look bad. The starters look bad. Hunter is the most uninspiring 20 and 10 a night guy I've ever seen, and I've said that before. Where do we start?
Can I just start off by saying that losing to Missouri is a lot worse than losing to K-State. I can't really describe the feeling. Like when we lose when KU loses to K-State in anything, obviously it's like, well, darn, like that really sucks. Well, it is what it is. And then we go back to like the all-time record. We're like, oh, we still lead the series. All right, whatever. I guess you could say the same thing about Missouri, but let me tell you, when you watch KU lose to Missouri, it is a different type of pain and feeling. It really is. Like you're sitting there going, oh, like there's nothing that you can say about it that could make the situation better or make you feel better. It is outright awful. Now with K-State, you can kind of reason it a little bit and be like, okay, well, we'll get them in the, like, for example, in basketball, like if KU loses at Manhattan, then like, okay, well, at least we're going to beat them whenever they come here and play us. And then when it comes to Missouri, it's like, if you lose to Missouri, like, that fan base is going to let you know about it for until the end of time. I mean, it doesn't matter, what year it is or what's going on. They're going to remind you of that game, and rightfully so. I mean, that's just the nature of this rivalry. Both schools hate each other. Both fan bases hate each other. Like both athletic programs hate each other. I mean, it's part of this rivalry, and it's a lot more intense than the Sunflower Showdown. I can tell you that.
I agree. Bill Self, just again, I was listening to Hawk Talk earlier, and Bill Self, I thought, made a funny comment. He goes, I didn't know I had so many fans and friends over in Columbia. Everyone's like trying to get my attention. They're waving at me with one finger. It's just, these guys were so nice. I just didn't realize how much support I had down there. Of course. But boy, was that that was ugly from the start. Mizzou came out and punched us right in the teeth. I knew going into this game it was going to be tough. Mizzou plays a very physical, aggressive defense. They pushed the ball They are efficient. They don't turn the ball over that much, and they force a lot of turnovers. They rebound well. They defend really well. They play very hard, and you saw that from the opening tip. And it's been since the Duke game that I think Kansas has played physical, that Kansas has played like a top 10 team, let alone even a top 25 team. I mean, there was nothing working in that first half against Mizzou. That was one of the worst stretches of basketball I've seen in a Bill Self team in a long time. And I completely trust Bill Self, but there were parts of that game where I was sitting there thinking, what is going through his mind right now? Like, there's nothing he can do. There's no adjustment he can make. They're just not playing basketball. But I also was like, he's not doing a lot either to make an adjustment. Like, I thought he was almost just as inspired from his coaching standpoint over the weekend as the players were being. It was all around disgusting. Going back to Creighton, Hunter Dickinson gets 4 shots up against Creighton, virtually non-existent, just a decoy. They played timid. They played scared. The only guy that's really done, played aggressively, I think, has been David Coit. Juan, leading scorer against Creighton, takes a ton of shots. You don't want that. KJ, who is Mr. Hustle, Mr. Jayhawk, looked completely out of place Saturday. Like, it just, everything about these last 2 games just brings back all of last season. All the issues we came into this season hoping would be figured out with the transfer portal and bringing Zeke Mayo over, the spacing, it just got worse. Zeke hasn't looked that great. He's been forcing things with the ball in his hands, making bad passes, not looking great on defense, not hitting any shots. AJ Storr has been in the doghouse and then out of the doghouse and back in, not making much impact. Rylan Griffin barely played at all in the Mizzou game, and you wonder why, because I feel like he's a guy that could have been used. Heck, Zach Clements has one of the best plus minuses on the team right now and has actually looked pretty decent when he's on the court because he is playing more physical and aggressive. But yeah, it's just bad news bears right now. The team can't shoot threes. They can't get to the foul line. They're getting destroyed at the foul line. I think Mizzou had like 13 free throws made in the first half, and KU had like 2. And they had I think Mizzou made more free throws in the first half than KU had attempts. And that's been a problem all season. Kansas has not been getting to the line. So just all around bad.
Well, same last season.
I don't even know where to be most disappointed. Is it the incoming transfers? Is it there's just so much about this roster right now that individually looks great. There's a lot of individually great, talented pieces, but the chemistry thing just has not gotten off to a great start. The same problems we're having. I mean, again, I can't say this enough. Hunter Dickinson's fantastic. He's probably going to be an All-American, but he is the biggest waste of 20 and 10 a night I've ever seen. Like, you could watch an entire game and go, man, Hunter was nowhere to be found in that game. And you look at the box score and he's got 20 and 10. But how many times can you look at the game and go, he got beat on a ball screen bad, gave 10 points on a ball screen. He missed 2 dunks because he's 7'2" and can't jump. Or he misses a little bunny hopper. He's not being physical enough and getting to the foul line. Yet he's still got 20 and 10. And it's just so frustrating to watch because when he's out there, the pace of the game just slows down so much. The movement, it's stagnant. The ball doesn't flow very well. But you can't take him off. I mean, he's a 7'2", 20 and 10 a night All-American. So you got to play him. But man, it's ugly right now.
It's so ugly. And let me tell you, there's a little secret. I don't think I've ever talked about this on the podcast, but I've got a couple hats. I've got like 10 hats. I feel like I wear maybe 2 or 3 most often when we're recording. When I'm wearing this hat right here that has nothing to do with KU, it's for a reason. And that reason is because I'm so frustrated with this team. It makes me want to vomit. It makes me so frustrated. I can't even, I should turn these lights off. I should take these flags down. I should just burn everything that's KU, but I would never do that. I've got a lot of KU related things in this room. It breaks my heart to see this team with all this talent being so polarizing. If you have a team that can beat North Carolina, Duke. Come on. I mean, Michigan State. I don't even care that they weren't ranked when we beat them. I mean, it's Michigan State, man. Michigan State, North Carolina, Duke. You can win all those games, and you can't beat Mizzou. I understand the Creighton loss. but Mizzou really, really grinds my gears. It's something that's unforgivable, not only from the perspective of a Kansas fan, but especially following a loss to Creighton. My first thought was, thank God that we don't have to go into this game against Mizzou undefeated, because should we lose, I will never hear the end of it. Well, guess what? I was wrong. It doesn't matter what our record was. I'm still never hearing the end of it at work. It's awful. And also, we're following a loss to Creighton, you guys. What is Bill Self doing in the post-Creighton loss practices that's not translating here? That really, really ticks me off. You would think that the practice would be hell. You would think that he would go.
It might have been
so much tape. It might have been. I mean, but it certainly didn't work. I just always felt
they look so uninspired. There's no energy. I mean, KJ's always got some passion, but there's no fight. Like, this team has more fight than last year, because they clawed back from 15 down. Diggy Coy made it interesting. Honestly, AJ Storr, even though he wasn't scoring the ball or shooting well, he was making an impact on the defensive side. And they did climb back in and get it to a 2-point game, but it was too little too late. All that energy they had to use to get back into it, they ran out of steam. And like, to me, that's the frustrations. These last two games, they just don't look prepared to play. They don't look like they're energized. Maybe the flu going around was worse than they let on. I'm sure some of it too is the rotation and chemistry. And I guess, Austin, what I want to get your thought on is, how on earth do we make this offense work when it's KJ, Hunter, and Juan? Because the same problems are still existing this year as they did last year, and that's with adding some wing pieces that can score and shoot and provide spacing.
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, if all three of those guys are out there at the same time, like, I don't know. It's like they need to work on it together. It's not like you can, change it. And I really don't know. I mean, if it hasn't changed, from last year to this year, is it really ever going to change? I don't know. No, exactly. So I really don't know, because I don't think you can at this point.
Right.
If something was going to change, then should have.
Question for y'all: do we have? And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer exactly. I'm genuinely asking, what's the answer here? Do we have a better team? Do we have a better team this year than we did in 2022 when we won?
No. I mean, obviously, I
thought we did coming into the year.
So it's easy to say that team's better, but if you're looking at this point in the season, up to this point in the season, I'd still say the 22 team, because they've all played together for at least 2 years.
Exactly.
Completely different play style too.
Is that the problem? Are we? This is the biggest thing. That's just like, I was talking about it with my coworkers. I'm like, guys.
But here's the thing. You could take David McCormick off that team, insert Hunter Dickinson. I don't think that team looks that much different. It's KJ.
Maybe.
KJ's I love KJ. I think he's fantastic. And I actually think there's a way we can win effectively with KJ in the lineup. But what did you have next to David McCormick? You had Jalen Wilson next to him. Jalen Wilson could shoot. He could spread out. He could attack. He could defend. He could rebound. I mean, KJ can't rebound at all, and he's the most physical guy in the court. But Jalen could defend. He could rebound. Then you had two interchangeable guards in Ochai and CB that could score from anywhere on the court and were physical enough to drive and take over, because DeJuan was still the same point guard he is now, although on that team, DeJuan wasn't playing the same type of minutes. Yes, Remy was there, and that into the seasons when Remy took off. But DeJuan wasn't playing the heavy minutes and being looked and asked to do a lot, because you had four other guys. You were going through those four other guys all day.
Well,
all day and all night. So I think to me it's the KJ next to Hunter. Like there's no way you can put them out there in the court and it works well. And what I've been thinking the last few days, and listening to all the podcasts, Derek talked about it on Locked On Jayhawks. They talked about it on 8 No Seats last night. KCSN, they talked about it. To me, it's a matter of rotation and play style. When Hunter's in the game, there's one way we're playing, and it's through the big man. It's spreading out. It's running a pick and roll. It's getting Hunter deep, letting him work the paint, hopefully kick out to an open shooter. But when we play that way, we have to slow the game down. The opposing team, if they're a more athletic team, has a little bit of an advantage because they can switch and rotate. They can get us in transition. And with that lineup on the floor with KJ next to Hunter, it's just stagnant. Now, we've seen times where they've been letting Hunter be somewhat of a decoy and facilitate KJ in the middle, and that's worked at times, but KJ just doesn't have that same jumper that, a Jalen Wilson has at the 4 spot or other guys in the past. So to me, the solution is this. We got to have 2 lineups. I love KJ. I want to see him play because I do think, honestly, there are times he's our best player on the floor. He and Hunter cannot play together as much as they are. So to me, the solution I would like to see tried, and it's not going to happen because this isn't Bill Self's MO. KJ sits. We try this for one game. KJ comes off the bench. Rylan Griffin and AJ Storr start at the 3 and 4. Let Hunter do his thing for the first 5 or 6 minutes. There's no clogging. Now, this only works if AJ plays good defense, but you run that lineup out there instead of bringing Flory in, because I still think Flory looks great at home, terrible on the road, just needs some more time to get acclimated. Bring KJ in at the 5, go smaller, but KJ plays physical. You let Hunter sit for a few minutes. Now you've got a more athletic team on the court. You can run and gun a little bit more. You can get into transition. You can run the 4 out, 1 in. Let KJ set all these screens and work the middle. But now you're opening up lanes for Rylan Griffin to shoot, but you're also opening up the opportunity for AJ Storr to do what he does best, and that's attack the rim and be a dominant ball guard that's going downhill scoring. When Hunter's on the floor, AJ Storr can't operate at that manner. So to me, it's run 2 different types of offense. So either AJ Storr sits, I guess, and you keep KJ out there and start Rylan Griffin, and you just let it be ugly for a little bit, and then move KJ to the 5, or sit KJ first, let Hunter do his thing. When KJ comes in, or Flory for that matter, either one of them, you've got a more athletic group on the floor. Then you go up tempo. You flip the script. Dewan comes out. Diggy goes in. You go up tempo, and you let AJ Storr run the offense through it, or you run the offense through him, kind of like what they would do with Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins wasn't a great shooter, but he attacked the paint. He got to the middle. He used his athleticism to go get a bucket, and that's what I think we want to see. And I think that's how you get it done, because when Hunter's out there, you're just limited. Doesn't matter if he's got 4 shooters around him, because he's not a shot blocking paint defender, because he's so slow with his feet, and offensively, he's going to clog the middle. You just can't play the way we've played in the last 2 years. You just can't. It doesn't work. We've never seen much of a game where it legitimately works against a quality opponent. Hunter, when he goes up against size, he struggles, and when he struggles, KJ starts to take over. But then when they go against a team that's more athletic, they both struggle, and it gets so ugly. So to me, that's the answer.
All right, here's another question then, and don't hate me. This might be a JB's hot takes. I don't know.
Hot takes.
Oh God, JB's hot takes. I just want to pose a question, okay? Just don't shoot me here. But is Bill Self washed? Oh God, there it is. JB's hot takes.
No, definitely not.
Is Bill Self washed? And I'll say this. I think the portal era, the Insta transfer portal era is awful for Bill Self, because when did he win his national titles? It was when it was with teams that played together for multiple years. We've known this about Bill Self.
Talent.
The homegrown talent, the kids that played together for 4 or 5 years, they win. And it's very seldom that we would actually have a fantastic team otherwise. And Is it just dawning on us after 22 years of Bill Self at the helm or whatever it is? He's not going to win this year. He's not going to win because this team hasn't played together. Is this a JB hot take, or am I just like having an epiphany that
I think it's a valid question.
I mean,
I get where you're coming from.
KU Twitter knows about this. I feel like all of KU's haters know about this with Bill Self. I mean, it just feels to me like we're never going to win again unless we just get some guys to stick it out. But no one wants to stick it out. Everyone wants to, leave, go get their bag, go to the NBA, and I get that. But like, man, it just hurts, man. I just feel like we're too good of a program to be dogged on like this. You lose a game to Mizzou and it sucks, and we get it. I can tell all my Mizzou friends, look, let me point at my 4 or 5 banners, whatever number is now. Like, look at all of our national titles. Look at all of our success, and they don't care. They're like, we only care about recency, and we just beat you. That was said to my face. I mean, it's so frustrating, of course. But
Austin,
I
I want to
think
give you. Go ahead. Sorry.
that's it, man. No, I was just gonna say that's it. Like,
Austin, before you
can't
throw
win.
your take out there, those of you who are watching, there's about 10 or 11 right now. Someone in the comment section has to have a thought on this team other than myself and the podcast. So if you do have a thought on this team, let us know. What do you think the problem? What's the biggest problem? What's the answer?
Type it
Is
out.
Bill Self's coaching a problem? Is it play style? Is it the transfer portal? I've got another thought to this, and I'm curious to get your guys'
Maybe
take
he's
on
too
it.
old now.
Austin, I'll let you get off your take first on JB's hot take. There is Bill Self's coaching not fit for the transfer portal.
Is he washed?
Look, listen, I understand where JB is coming from. And, I guess there is going to come a point where, we're going to get towards the end of Bill Self's time as the head basketball coach. And the only way that, he's not going to be the head coach anymore is when he announces his retirement, I suppose. I mean, because he's got a lifetime rolling contract, and he's going to be the head coach for as long as he wants to be until he feels like it's time to get off the train. So, I mean,
And I'm happy
don't,
for that.
yeah.
I'm
Great
happy
shout
for
out
that.
to my
I
guy,
don't want him to
Always
leave.
appreciate you, Derek.
Definitely, yeah. But I mean, just I guess I haven't really taken the time to like really think about that. Just like with the transfer portal and how that national championship winning team back in 2021, 2022, like those guys like played with each other for a couple of years, if not more than that, and how like the past 2 teams of ours, including this year's, haven't necessarily been able to do that. Like we've only had 3 starters from last year's team come back, and then you have Jamari, but he's redshirting this year, so not a whole lot of guys from last year's team coming back, and then El Marco out for the season. But yeah, that's really fascinating though to think about, and you wonder if like these transfer guys, which I believe Rylan has 1 more year of eligibility left after this season, or I don't know where AJ Store's at. I think he's a senior. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is AJ's final year.
Okay, well, so listen, I don't really know how many years of eligibility some of these transfer guys have left, but I mean, you got to do anything and everything that you can to keep them around if possible, if they have any more eligibility left, because DeJuan's going to move on. Hunter's going to move on because those guys are going to run out of years of eligibility. And then I believe this is KJ Adams' final year, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So,
Yep.
So you got to find a way to keep the team together, and you got to. And the one thing that I just hate about the transfer portal and the world of it now, it's like every single coach in every single sport, I feel like, at least for the major sports, are like they have to like recruit their own players. Like they have to recruit their own players that like at the end of the season during the start of the off season, because like they know that like now in today's world of college athletics, like they have a wide open path to be like, you know what? I'm not getting enough NIL money here. Whatever the reason it might be, and then they can just enter the transfer portal and go. It's become such a cruel world now, and I'm not advocating against the transfer portal here. I'm just saying, like, it's become hard for literally everybody to like keep their own team together after every single season. And so, like, how do you do it? I really don't know. I wish that we didn't have to live in a world where coaches have to re-recruit their own guys, but unfortunately, that's how it goes. And I don't really know if Coach Self has had that big of a problem in the past until this transfer portal thing became a big deal. So
I got three things.
About.
Three things I want to throw here. And again, shout out Derek Ho. I know I should have texted you earlier to hop on with us. My apologies. But appreciate you dropping your knowledge here in the comment section. Definitely can't have DeJuan taking 21 shots, that's for sure. Unless literally nothing is working. If nothing is working and DeJuan's getting good looks and they're going in, I'm fine with it. But that can't be the answer. Coaching style's fine. Appreciate that. I think Noah's definitely onto something. With AJ Store. AJ's averaging 20 minutes a game. For a guy we went out and spent a lot of money on in the offseason, to not give him more than 20 minutes a game is frustrating. I get why. Bill, here's where it's going to come down to. There's a reason why AJ Store doesn't play the minutes that he should be getting. And I'm going to liken this to the Kansas City Chiefs. Bill Self, to me, is a lot like Andy Reid. Both are incredible coaches, best in their game. They have a system that they do not change unless they're forced to. But sometimes, because of that, they can be a little stubborn. How often do we see the Chiefs go get a midseason addition or an offseason addition that's never been on the team and hit the ground running right away? Very rarely. You could argue DeAndre Hopkins is one of the better midseason additions on offense specifically, but he's been there, done that. He's one of the league's best. He's been around for a while, and the system wasn't too different from what he's had in the past. Outside of that, how many guys that we get excited about in the offseason? Oh, the Chiefs brought in so-and-so. The Chiefs are going to go get this. It takes forever for them to figure it out. Hey, the Chiefs draft Xavier Worthy, one of the fastest wide receivers, one of the best wide receivers.
Oh, my God.
And now he's coming on okay. But my point is, both coaches run an incredibly intense system. It's a very detailed system. There's a lot of language you got to learn to it, a lot of signals and signs. There's a lot of intricacies to the system. And I think that can be very overwhelming for players at times because Bill Self is one of the best to do it. And that's why he has a very intricate system that's worked in the past. So the teams that have been more successful are the teams that have had 3 or 4 years in that system. Hunter Dickinson's been in the system for a year and a half and hasn't quite figured it out yet. DeJuan and KJ have. They've been around here forever. The rest of these guys haven't been in the system. And for a guy like AJ Store, who literally was on a system that was, hey, here's ball, see ball, get ball, score ball. That was the system. He comes over here and Bill Self says, hey, we want you to score. We want you to do all this. But if you can't play defense and rebound, you're not going to see the court. And so for a guy like that to come in and have to now pay attention and focus to an aspect of his game he doesn't do a lot, it's been very challenging. So, yeah, I think, Noah, you were right. He definitely needs to be playing a lot more. 100% agree. Bill Self might be the hardest coach to play for, which is a good thing. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just saying a byproduct of working a very tough system is it's very difficult for new guys to translate into the system and pick it right up. But to me, AJ needs to be on the floor more. When he is on the floor, I think he needs to have the ball in his hands, and we need to let him go attack. Like there were times during the Andrew Wiggins year before Joel Embiid got going to what he was at the second half where it was nothing's working. Give the ball to Andrew Wiggins and let him figure out how to create a shot. AJ Store has that type of game in him, and we're not seeing that be allowed because, again, it's go through Hunter, it's go through KJ. And so, again, to me, it's you got to split them up. KJ and Hunter need to play opposite each other as much as you can. I don't have a problem if they overlap, but they overlap far too much. You got to get some more athleticism out there on the court and play to your strengths. AJ Store, we brought him in for a reason to be a scorer. Let him go out there and score. Zeke Mayo, we brought him in to shoot and be a scorer. Let them go out there and make plays in the natural flow of the offense.
I second everything you just said. Love it. AJ Store, he's better than Jalen Wilson. If we used him like we used Jalen Wilson,
that's a good comparison.
Just fine. And this is why, like, kind of back to my point from earlier, this is why I was saying going into this year, I totally thought this year was better talent, better team than 2022 when we won it all. because of guys like AJ Storr. I mean, man, you got to at some point you got to just unleash the guy because he is fully capable of putting this team on his back, and I want to see it. I remember at the beginning when it was announced that he was coming to Kansas, I was a little bit hesitant because I just wish his shot selection was a little bit better. I think, hero ball doesn't always work, but you know what? We just need someone on the team to take over, and he's a takeover type of guy. Gosh darn it, I want AJ.
Yeah, he's got that dog mentality we hear.
He does, man. He does.
We just haven't seen it. We haven't seen it enough because, again, when he's got a 7'2" man clogging the paint, there's no lane to the rim to attack, and I don't blame the player on that. I think there are aspects like the guys who said in the comments, he's got to learn to play some defense and he's got to be able to use his body to go get rebounds. I agree. He has to. But he's also got to be given an opportunity to do what he excels at. And I think to me, that's where the coaching frustration comes in is Bill Self has done this plenty of years where he's gone out and gotten tremendous talent and then has kind of forced them to switch their game play to fit his system. We saw it with Remy. How long did it take? How long were Bill and Remy, fighting and having that friction until Bill Self finally said, you know what, screw it. I know what you're capable of. Just go out there and play, and we'll figure it out. And he finally figured it out, and Remy, arguably helped win us a national championship. But up until late in that season, mostly Big 12 tournament play, Remy wasn't seeing the court. He was not with the team at times. He wasn't playing much. It was all DeJuan Harris because Remy wasn't doing the things that a Bill Self team is required to do. But at some point, Bill went, okay, we got to win games, and it's about winning. So, Remy, you got to take over and do your thing. So, I think we'll see some of that. I'm also a proponent that I think Bill Self likes to experiment with things in the non-con part of the season. I think he wants to. I mean, I can't remember if it was the Creighton. I think it was the Creighton game where we were down to like one timeout for the entire second half. Bill Self does that from time to time where he burns all these times out and this is, all right, guys, you got 20 minutes. Go figure it out. And instead of making a lot of adjustments himself, I think he's literally waiting to see who's going to step up on the court and do that. And we just haven't seen enough of that in this group. But where's everyone's concern level moving forward? Like Kansas drops to 10th in the polls. They got 2 games left before Big 12 play. Big 12 play is obviously going to be a gauntlet like it is every year. What's the concern level right now for you guys?
If I had to give it like on a scale of 1 to 10, like 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, I'd have to say like 8.5 maybe. I mean, it's relatively high. But here's my thing, like in the past 2 seasons, including this one, I mean, we have not played well on the road, and there is a lot of key critical games.
What they say, 3-11 in the Hunter Dickinson era on the road or something like that?
I have no idea.
It's bad. It's either 3-10, 3-11, or something like that.
I'm just worried about like the road schedule and possibly like doing the same thing that happened last year and dropping a couple of games at home, like the BYU game, for example. Like, are we going to have one of those moments? Are we going to have more than one stinker at home? I'm very worried about specifically the road slate, and then just I don't know, just keeping the consistency together. Like, and I also worry about like, okay, they beat North Carolina, Michigan State, and Duke. Like I don't know. It's like I think I saw a clip of David Coit talking about this after the Mizzou game, but he was talking about how like they needed to do a better job of like respecting their opponents and welcoming the fact that every team that they play is going to give them their best game because KU is one of the top teams in the country, and they still are right now, even though like you said they dropped to 10. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
10.
Okay. I had a feeling it was going to be 10 spots or something. I mean, after losing back-to-back games to Creighton and Mizzou, but I it's like once they start
drop further, in my opinion. But honestly, the polls don't matter. The polls really don't matter.
But I thought David Coit brought up an excellent point about like how KU just needed to like respect their opponents better and how they need to like welcome the competition and welcome the fact that every single team that they play the rest of this season is going to give them their best game. And I think he's spot on. And I think once that happens, then maybe we won't lose as many road games. But I mean, I think, they're going to continue to do well at home because guys, it's Allen Fieldhouse, and the fans are going to bring it every single game, regardless of how good or bad KU is. You saw it last year. I think every single game was sold out at home, for the most part. I don't remember there being a game where there wasn't like a close to sold out crowd, but like there was like a section of like seats that just weren't taken up. So of course they're going to continue to do well at home. There are a couple of games on the schedule that I am a little worried about. First off, I'm worried about the UCF game at home for absolutely no reason. Just the fact that UCF beat KU last year at their place. And, who knows? I think UCF is a decent team. Or I think, that'll be one of those games where it's like, we should win. And then all of a sudden, what the heck? And then K-State game kind of worries me a little bit too. And here's why. You guys remember the game 2 years ago against TCU where TCU just came into Allen Fieldhouse and defeated KU by 20 or whatever it was?
Oh my gosh, that was one of the worst.
That game was televised on, I believe, CBS. And that was a noon tip game on a Saturday, I believe. We play K-State at noon on CBS, and K-State has not won on Lawrence since 2004, I believe. And look, I don't think K-State is going to end up being that good of a basketball team this year. I think maybe they can turn it around at some point, but something just scares me about that game for – I don't know, the fact that game is on CBS and it's a noon tip game, and we've seen some wild stuff happen in the past couple of seasons.
Noon tips.
And we've seen some games at home that were just like, what the heck was that? I don't know why this game in particular and the UCF game are two games that I'm like, something bad could happen. I don't know. JB, what do you think?
I think for now I'm going to temper my expectations, but also I'm just gonna give us the benefit of the doubt. I mean, I know it's 2 straight losses. I think I'm gonna try not to be too emotional over this Mizzou loss. I think we can figure it out, but I think
thank God they're not in the conference anymore. That makes it a little bit easier to swallow.
Yeah. The one thing that scares me, and forgive me because I should have done more research on this before hopping on tonight, but I heard something through the grapevine about a potential player on this roster never playing another game for Kansas. Has anyone heard this?
Shaq Moore?
I believe that's what I'm talking about. Yes.
So
What's going
Shaq
on?
Moore, we can transition that. And just quick shout out. Thank you, Derek and Noah, in the comment section. In case I know you two were talking, so you might not have seen all this. Leadership, Noah said, is a problem. Definitely 100% agree. This team doesn't have a lot of real vocal leaders. It should be Hunter and it should be Juan. But they're just very passive aggressive, in my opinion, if you ask me. So someone needs to take over the reins there. And I think Bill Self wants that and is hoping for it, which is why I think Bill's been a little bit more hands off. Is the players have to go out and do it. So I think that's a great point there. Then Derek also said it again, just to compare it to the Kansas City Chiefs. This team is becoming very predictable and easy to guard because you know exactly what they're going to do. Time in, and time out down the court.
Yep.
So Shaq Moore. I don't have a lot of details, but what I do know is the injury is a problem. A lot like Kevin McCullough last year. It's going to be something he probably deals with all season. I don't know the severity of it, but he played some spot minutes in a couple games, re-aggravated the foot in practice and is not healing well. There is talk that he could redshirt and get cleared for a medical redshirt and sit out the rest of the year. There's talk that the injury isn't as bad as it is, and maybe there's a fit issue, and Shaq Moore could transfer at semester break. That is, and by the way, when I'm saying this, there's no credible source that is out there saying this. Is just some of the talk. I, for one, don't buy into much of that. I think it's more of if he can't practice, he's not playing. And if he doesn't feel like again, Remy had the same weird issues too, where he was hurt, but he wasn't hurt, but he was, so he wasn't practicing. If you don't practice, Bill's not going to play you. And if he can't go, he can't go. I do think there's a lot this team could benefit from him being on the court. Unfortunately, we haven't seen much of that, even in the short time we've had. But yeah, it is a concern factor that there is a chance. I've seen everything from he won't be ready to go till February. He won't be ready to go till January. It'd be like Kevin McClure last year, where he can play, but he's going to have pain. He might have to like play 2 or 3 games, sit out a game or two. It's very disappointing. I think KU's got enough pieces though to make up for it. But you could definitely see how him being able to play on the court would be great, because I think you could spell Juan a few more minutes because they both bring that defensive intensity, and then Juan would be better down the stretch. So it's frustrating. That's all I know on it though for now.
Gosh, it almost feels like if we had him, our problems would be solved. But the fact of the matter is that we've won incredible games without him. So like, I don't know, but it's
You always need depth.
I'm
I mean,
grasping.
we know Bill's going to tighten
Yeah.
the rotation as we go into conference play. Even Raquise Passmore's gone from like 6 minutes a game to 2 minutes. Clements is getting 2 to 3 minutes now, albeit has looked pretty decent his last 2 outings. Has Zach Clements. And oh my gosh, we had Zach Clements, Hunter Dickinson, and KJ Adams on the court at the same time. Never again, please. Never. Didn't look that bad. I mean, it wasn't terrible. I mean, it could have been worse. But yeah,
never again.
Yeah, this is for, to me, it all comes down to, it's all about the rotation. Bill's got to figure out what button to press. I think Noah's right with it's got to be lean into more AJ Store. I think KJ and Hunter need to have more time apart when they're playing.
Give them 10 minutes max together.
Man, that's tough because KJ is the guy that brings the physical intensity on defense time in and time out. So you got to have him out there. But yeah, it's frustrating. I guess let's talk about Flory real quick. Started out hot, has been great. The last 2 games, not so good. Now, didn't play a ton, but he's been getting into foul trouble. I think some of it is he's going up against really good size. Mizzou has 2 guys that are big. You know, they have a 7-footer, and then their 4-man was big. And then Creighton, of course, with Kalkbrenner. So he didn't look great on the road in a fast-paced environment, but also 2 teams that spread the ball and run quick. So, which also makes me think he should be out there more because he is more athletic than Hunter. But thoughts on Flory and how we might see him potentially progress throughout the season?
Dude, he's a stud. I don't care about these last 2 games. I think the fact that we lost them both, I mean, we watched these games. It wasn't just Flory. I think everyone was playing poorly. But I'm so happy that he has the role that he has this year. He is proving why he was the 5-star prospect coming in that we were super excited for. I mean, because we can't expect him to lead the team in points, not when Bill Self is the coach, not when he's a freshman, not when we have the stars that we have. The situation that he is in right now, I feel, is perfect for his development, is exciting for the future. I certainly hope he stays 2-3 years, but I don't think he will. I think he's got the talent to leave, honestly, anytime he wants. Who knows, by the end of the season, he could look so good that even despite coming off the bench, he wants to leave for the draft. I hope not, but
I think we're safe enough right now. Although he could have the Johnny Furphy effect and just go through a 2-3 week stretch where the athleticism just jumps off. But yeah, I think Flory, he's seen a little bit of the game. I mean, he is a lot like Joel Embiid in the sense of has only been playing organized basketball for just a couple of years. So he's a very raw talent and a lot of potential that still is learning the intangibles. The intangibles of the game. I think he's going to get better. Unfortunately, though, I think that also means we're going to see less playing time from him, which is frustrating because we know what happened last year is when Hunter was playing 34, 35, 36 minutes a night, his effectiveness went way down. His efficiency went way down. He went like 3 weeks without hitting a three, and he just got tired of it in the games. So I hope we can find ways to get Flory correct minutes, or again, go to my proposal of KJ becomes the backup 5, and we go with a lot more run and gun. And Noah, thank you for bringing this up because I swear to you guys, he has grown since he's gotten here. He was listed at 6'7", 6'8", 6'9". I don't care what the numbers he's listed at. If you look at the team photo going into the season, he's standing right next to Zach Clements. Zach Clements is listed at 6'11", and they looked basically the same height. So Flory is either wearing thick shoes, Zach Clements is shorter than he's listed, or Flory has grown an inch or two. I think there's a legitimate chance he becomes a real 6'10" kind of guy, which is a lot like Chuck Diallo. Chuck Diallo came in at 6'8", sometimes was listed 6'9", 6'10". But yeah, he's got a high motor. He's got insane athleticism. He does play big. I think you give him 6 more months here in the weight room, and he's going to start to figure it out and become just an imposable threat on offense. So sophomore year Flory, if he's here, I think is going to be a monster, a lot like Doak kind of became. But I'd love to still see him get some run time and spare Hunter some minutes because his athleticism I think could be helpful. If he can be a net neutral on defense, I think that honestly does more because if you take Hunter out, then again, we can run and gun, we can play up tempo, we can let AJ Storr take over for a 4 or 5 minute stretch, let Zeke Mayo go for a 4 or 5 minute stretch and figure it out. But yeah, right now the chemistry is just bad. It's bad on every account, and KU's got 2 more games before Big 12 play to bounce back and figure it out. I think they will. They get a good week off here with finals week. I'm sure they will have an intense week of practice and a lot that they'll work on. Again, there's never been a reason to doubt Bill Self ever, so I don't doubt him. I think just we have high standards here, so the frustrations are loud and very noticeable.
So true.
But yeah, you guys got any other takes? Any other thoughts?
I'm calling for Bill Self's head. That's how bad it is right now. I should never, ever, 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 ever do that. I know that. Trust me, you guys. For anyone listening that thinks I'm just too hot-headed right now, I know what I'm talking about. It's a little bit nutty sometimes, but I'm just saying. Hey, Derek, I see you. I'm just saying.
It wouldn't be a podcast episode without a JB emotional rant.
There's some patterns coming out.
There are. Again,
I
I want to say that it's Bill Self isn't making the adjustments himself because he wants his guys to figure it out, and this is the time here to do so. I think as we get into Big 12 play, you'll see a lot more adjustments and things like that because that's when it really, really counts. But if we're going to win the Big 12 this year in a deep Big 12, things got to get better. But yeah, Austin, you got any other thoughts? Those watching in the comments, any other thoughts, questions before we get out of here?
I really don't have anything really. I did go to the Creighton game. I was there in Omaha on Wednesday. I actually got to call that game for our student radio station, so I thought that was neat. What was your guys' reaction when I posted a video on Thursday, and the Creighton students and fans, they rushed the court and they played the infamous Mr. Brightside. And I didn't know Creighton disliked KU that much. They did a lot of FKUing during the game too. I heard that too. What was your guys' thoughts on that? Like, I understand Missouri, I understand K-State, and I understand, maybe some of the other schools that just simply doesn't like KU.
So from my understanding, there's a little bit of beef between Doug McDermott and Bill Self. Kind of like Wichita State with Greg Marshall, that this game's they've been trying to schedule this game for years. Creighton has been wanting this. And to my understanding, KU would not agree to it unless it was a neutral site or a home in Lawrence because of this exact reason. You don't want to go to the smaller school and have a bad loss like this in early non-con play. Now, I think in the last couple of years, Bill Self has completely changed his process and how non-con games go. I mean, I don't think any team has as deep of a non-con schedule year in and year out as Kansas. So I think that's where some of it was coming from, is that this game, Creighton's been trying to get this game on the books for years, because for them it'd be one of the biggest home games. Proximity, it's only 2.5 hours from Lawrence, 3 hours give or take. So it's a close major team. So I think that's where some of it was coming from. But yeah, that was kind of surprising. It honestly felt like a K-State game.
I posted that video, and all I said was, I'll let you guys react in the comments. Now, let me tell you, when I go back to that tweet and look through the comments section, I have people telling me, "Oh, quit crying! Oh, what's the problem? Huh? Like,
easy to say when you're the team winner.
I just said, just react in the comments if you wish. That's essentially what I said. I didn't say, "Oh, I can't believe they did that," or anything. I didn't do that. All I said was, I'll let you guys talk about it, react to it in the comments, and I get told, quit crying about it. I wasn't crying about it. I was just, I was shocked. I was kind of surprised by it. I was a little blindsided by it, but I wasn't like, whoa. I was like,
I think
it's KU. Like, I get it. There's a lot of people out there that do not like KU. It's totally understandable.
First off, I like court stormings. I know a lot of people hate court stormings.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're fun. They can be fun. However, I think the last several years, college football, college basketball, we've seen court stormings and field stormings that are a little dramatic. Like, Creighton is not a bad team. Creighton was a top 25 team. They were top 15 to start the year. I don't believe they were ranked at the time of that game, but it's not like we were playing the 105th team in Ken Palm and we just drop a bad one on the road. No, Creighton's a good team, and they are really good at home. I can't remember the statistic. I think Derek threw it out there on Locked On Jayhawks that Creighton had won some ridiculous, like 9 out of the last 10 home games against a ranked opponent or something like that. Like, their win record at home is insanely good against ranked opponents. So the fact that they stormed the court, yes, again, I think if it was like number 10 next to us at that time versus number 1, maybe not. So I'm all for you storm the court on the number 1 team. But there's been too many teams the last several years where you're not a bad team. Bad teams storm the court. Good teams don't need to storm the court. Yeah, thank you, Noah. They smashed UConn. I forget that was last year, I believe.
Yeah.
Hold on. UConn looks terrible, by the way. Did we dodge a bullet with Liam McNeil? I don't know.
Has lost his mind. Oh, I don't want to play in the Maui tournament anymore. I just don't want to do it anymore. It's like
home and aways. That's it. Home and homes.
It's like, if you can't handle it, then maybe take another look at yourself and be like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, outside of that, I don't have a problem with the court stormings. You knew Mizzou was going to storm the court, rightfully so.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe over the PA announcer, was like, stay off the court. Like, yeah, right. They're not going to just stay in their seats after beating KU. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think you're right on. We're glad we got Bill. He's the best to do it. I think when it's all said and done, 20, 30 years from now, people are going to look back and Bill Self's going to be a top 5 coach in college basketball history, if you ask me. Yes, it'd be nice if he had a couple more championships on the resume. But just there are very few coaches, and I'm not going to consider a lot of the coaches of the 50s, 60s, and 70s because basketball was just so different back then. There are very few coaches that have the winning resume Bill Self does. Kansas has been a relevant team for like 70 straight years, and there has not been a year since Bill Self's been at the helm that they haven't been ranked and they haven't been a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. No other program. Mike Krzyzewski can't say that. Roy Williams can't say that at Duke, at North Carolina. Jay Wright couldn't say that at Villanova. John Calipari couldn't say that at Kentucky. Bill Self is the cream of the crop. He gets it done time in and time out. And even our worst teams, or what we would consider bad teams, still are a top 25 team every single year. It's just we have set the bar so high in Kansas basketball, rightfully so. That's right. And we meet that bar almost every single year that if we're just slightly under that bar, the fan base is pissed, which of course we are. We're frustrated.
And I go on
we
my
have
rants.
We have it so good. We have it so good here. So good.
Also, to set the record straight, you guys, I'm never going to pretend that I know more about coaching basketball than Bill Self. Okay? Look, I can rant, I can rave, whatever. Bill Self is still the GOAT. If I'm being fully authentic and serious, he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
We'll bounce back. We got this.
Yeah. Well,
Mizzou
we'll end it
sucks.
there. Hour 15 in. Appreciate everyone that's stuck around this time. Hoping to do some more of these live episodes throughout the season because they're fun. Love to get the fan interaction in the comment section. So thank you guys
Thank you,
for
Noah.
doing that. Noah's great. He comments every podcast, KU podcast I listen to.
Derek.
Noah's in the comments. So he's always tuned in, ready with his take. But yeah, that'll wrap it up on this one. We got KU North Carolina State this weekend, Saturday, and then they got Brown next week, and then Big 12 play. KU football again. We'll still have quite a few episodes off season with KU football. There's a lot of transfer portal talk, roster construction, things to get into there. I've got a couple KU football guests I'm trying to get over the off season to give us some good content and stories. Work on some stuff there. So yeah, make sure you guys are subscribed to the podcast if you haven't done so yet here on YouTube. Shout out Noah, thank you so much. We love you too. Hit that subscribe button. We're over 1,100 subscribers now, which again, so grateful for. Never would have imagined that. We've picked up over 800 subscribers in the last 6 months, almost the last 6 months, which is incredible. Incredible. It just dawned on me too. We still have a giveaway to do. We still have to give away a Devin Neal jersey.
Give away the jersey. What are you?
I know we are. I was thinking about it today.
You got to do it sometime.
It's a great time to give away a Devin Neal jersey as we're getting into Christmas. So stay tuned for that. You'll find out about that on our Twitter page probably later this week or next week. I was trying to hold off because there's a chance we could get him back on the podcast again to talk now that his time at KU is over. But yeah, got to give that jersey away for sure. Got a couple other things in the works, so make sure you guys are subscribed, tuning in to everything we got. It just keeps popping Noah's comment up there. It just wants you guys to know how much we love him. But yeah, that'll wrap it up for this one. We appreciate you guys as always. Rock chalk, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Rock chalk.
Rock chalk.